Circulatory and respiratory systems. Hey there! In this video, we are going to talk about the different parts and functions of our circulatory and respiratory system and how do they work together. I'm John Bill Patrick U. Magalong, and we will discuss first the circulatory system. First, we will discuss the circulatory system, or much commonly known as cardiovascular system. The circulatory system is responsible for transporting materials throughout the entire body. It transports nutrients, water, and oxygen to your billions of body cells, and carries away waste such as carbon dioxide that body cells produce. The circulatory system consists of the heart, the blood, and the blood vessels. The first organ we will discuss in the circulatory system is the heart. The heart is an organ made of cardiac muscle, and it acts like a pump. The muscles of the heart contract and pump blood away from the heart through the aorta and to the tissues of the body. Diffusion occurs at the tissues, allowing for nutrients and oxygen to enter the cells and for carbon dioxide and other waste to be removed from the cells. Your heart beats when the pacemaker, located in the right atrium, sends an impulse that causes muscle contractions to occur. The heartbeat is partly controlled by neurotransmitters released by the nervous system. When your heart pumps, it produces a pressure in your arteries called blood pressure. Your body helps regulate your blood pressure by communicating with the brain. The brain releases neurotransmitters that can raise or lower the blood pressure by relaxing or controlling the smooth muscles of the blood vessels. Your kidneys also play a role in regulating blood pressure by removing water from the blood and releasing it as urine. The next essential part of circulatory system that we will discuss is blood. Blood is composed of 55% plasma and 45% red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Plasma is made primarily of water but also contains salts, nutrients, hormones, and many other substances. Red blood cells transport oxygen. Hemoglobin is a protein located on red blood cells that binds to oxygen in the lungs and transport it to the tissues where the oxygen gets released. White blood cells are produced from stem cells in bone marrow. The number of white blood cells in the blood is much less than that of red blood cells. When you are sick, the number of white blood cells in the blood increases to help fight infection. There are many types of white blood cells, and they each have a different job. Examples are engulfing microorganisms that cause disease, releasing chemicals, and etc. Some white blood cells make antibodies to help destroy pathogens or bad guys that provide you with immunity to several diseases. White blood cells leak out of the circulatory system into the lymphatic system where they are able to provide defense within the tissues. The next part of the circulatory system that we will discuss is the blood vessels. There are three types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries transport the oxygenated blood away from the left side of the heart. Like the branches of a tree, they become thinner as they spread out from the main arteries. These smaller branches are called arterioles. The largest artery in the body connected directly to the heart is the aorta. Veins transport used blood from all over the body back to the heart and lungs for oxygenation. Veins are often visible through your skin as blue lines. They are blue because they carry blood that is full of waste products and are low in oxygen. The motorways of the venal system are the vena cava. The superior vena cava carries blood to the heart from the upper body, while the inferior vena cava carries blood from the lower body. A unique feature of veins is that they have valves. They are there to prevent the backflow of blood. The blood must flow in one direction only against gravity in most cases. Capillaries are minute blood vessels that join onto the arterioles. They are one cell thick and are exchange point where the nutrients, oxygen, and glycogen cross into the tissue cells from the arteriole.
Hello guys, I am Paolo Godoy and I will be discussing with you the human respiratory system. Respiration is primarily concerned with inhaling air and exhaling carbon dioxide. This results to homeostasis or internal balance through providing oxygen for energy production and keeping a normal pH level of the body through regulation of carbon dioxide. This allows us to enjoy the many things in life. We move on to the mechanics of breathing. As we inhale the air from the environment, this air would pass through the nasopharynx, which provides a passageway for air during breathing. We can also breathe through our mouth. An example of this is yawning. However, the air would instead pass through the oropharynx, which also serves as a passageway for air and food. Can we breathe air and swallow food at the same time through the nasopharynx and the oropharynx? Let's give it a thought and let's find out. Let's find out for ourselves. We cannot, and it's because of the epiglottis. It acts as a switch between the trachea and the esophagus to allow air to the trachea and food to the esophagus to prevent the person from choking. Whether we breathe through our nose or through our mouth, the air would still pass through our larynx, which also allows air to pass through the trachea while preventing food from blocking the airway. The air coming from the larynx would now pass through the trachea, which connects the larynx to the bronchi of the lungs, and this trachea contains cilia, tiny hair-like cells that trap contaminants from the air and moves it to the pharynx. The bronchi now carries air from the trachea to the lungs. Once the air reaches the lungs, the alveoli within the lungs will now allow the exchange of gases, oxygen to the blood and carbon dioxide out of the body. Whenever we breathe in, our diaphragm contracts and creates a suction that draws air in. And whenever we exhale, our diaphragm relaxes and exhales air due to recall of the lungs. The pulmonary vein then transports oxygen-rich blood back to the heart, and the heart would now pump this blood all over the body, and the cycle will repeat itself.
Hi, I'm Julia Garcia, and for our special topic, how do red blood cells carry oxygen? Let's find out. The primary function of red blood cells is to transport oxygen from the lungs to the cells of the body. RBCs, or red blood cells, contain a protein called hemoglobin that actually carries the oxygen. In the capillaries, the oxygen is released to be used by the cells of the body. 97% of the oxygen that is carried by the blood from the lungs is carried by hemoglobin. The other 3% is dissolved in the plasma. Hemoglobin combines loosely with oxygen in the lungs, where the oxygen level is high, and then easily release it in the capillaries where the oxygen level is low. Each molecule of hemoglobin contains 4 iron atoms, and each iron atom can bind with one molecule of oxygen, which contains 2 oxygen atoms called O2, for a total of 4 oxygen molecules or 8 atoms of oxygen for each molecule of hemoglobin. It is important to note that the iron atoms give hemoglobin its oxygen binding and releasing properties. This is an oxygen dissociation curve, which demonstrates that as the partial pressure of oxygen increases, more oxygen binds hemoglobin. The binding of oxygen to hemoglobin can be plotted as a function of the partial pressure of oxygen in the blood, which is in the x-axis, versus the relative Hb oxygen saturation, which is in the y-axis. The resulting graph is S-shaped, and as the partial pressure of oxygen increases, the hemoglobin becomes increasingly saturated with oxygen. So remember, red blood cells contain a protein called hemoglobin that binds to oxygen. It also contains iron atoms, which gives the RBCs its oxygen binding and releasing properties. oxygen is then released to be used by your cells in the body. And that's how red blood cells carry oxygen.
Hi, I'm Karen Villafranca, and I'm going to talk about coronary heart disease. Coronary heart disease, or simply heart disease, is a result of plaque buildup in your arteries, which blocks blood flow and heightens the risk of heart attack and stroke. How does coronary artery disease develop? From a young age, cholesterol-laden plaque can start to deposit in the blood vessel walls. As you get older, the plaque burden builds up, inflaming the blood vessel walls and raising the risk of blood clots and heart attack. The plaques release chemicals that promote the process of healing but make the inner walls of the blood vessel sticky. Then other substances such as inflammatory cells, lipoproteins, and calcium that travel in your bloodstream start sticking to the inside of the vessel walls. Eventually, a narrowed coronary artery may develop new blood vessels that go around the blockage to get blood to the heart. However, during times of increased exertion or stress, the new arteries may not be able to supply oxygen-rich blood to the heart muscle. How is coronary artery disease treated? Treatment for coronary artery disease involves making lifestyle changes, taking medications, possibly undergoing invasive or surgical procedures, and seeing your cardiologist for regular checkups. Heart-healthy lifestyle changes include heart-healthy eating, maintaining a healthy weight, managing stress, physical activity, quitting smoking. Treatment goals may include lowering the risk of blood clots forming, preventing complications of coronary heart disease, reducing risk factors in an effort to slow, stop, or reverse the buildup of plaque, relieving symptoms, widening or bypassing clogged arteries.
Let's make this fleeting moment last forever.